I'm here as the CEO of a very human-centered organization called Chief. It is the largest private network of senior women leaders. And I can see from speaking with those women every day, decision makers at Fortune 500 companies, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and every leadership role in between, they are having two conversations right now about AI. One is about the technology, of course, but then the other one is about the human capabilities that it can never replace. For any organization trying to get this right, the conversations that I have with senior women leaders means that they are some of the most important voices in the room right now. So look, most of the conversation around AI is around speed, right? How quickly organizations can adopt AI, how much efficiency it can unlock, how fast teams can move, and how much, of course, they can produce. All very important. Makes sense. AI is an incredibly powerful tool. We are all feverishly deploying it at a rapid pace, and there is real significant pressure to keep up. The space moves so fast, it's changing up here in the few minutes I've been standing. But framing that conversation and framing everything around speed and efficiency and output is incomplete. It narrows the conversation to solely what AI can do without addressing everything that it could impact, and we know that there is more to that conversation. Because AI is more than a technology challenge, it is also a leadership challenge, a human challenge. And as leaders, all of us, we are navigating a new reality. Like an employee who used to spend a week stress testing a decision with peers now has that answer in seconds. A product manager who can generate 50 user insights before lunch without actually talking to a user. A CTO who checks on her team and they're trying to solve a problem. So her brilliant engineers, they aren't diving in, debating, and challenging each other for better outcomes because now they're waiting to see what the machine or the system says. So those three examples just show you the more we use AI, the more it changes the people that we're working with. It's changing how decisions get made. It's changing how teams learn, how judgment is developed, how culture is built and nurtured, and how organizations build capability over time. And at the end of the day, it's changing how all of us lead. Look how fast these tools have transformed the workforce. It's faster than we ever imagined, and it's just going to get faster. When you have that amount of tectonic change, of course leadership has to change, because leadership is about humans. But right now, we look inside most organizations and we see the same patterns, and we hear this reported from the women that we work with at Chief. We see heavy focus on the AI tools, the systems, and the infrastructure to build and scale, because there's a corporate mandate to move faster, adopt broadly, stay competitive. All of that makes sense, but at the same time, these organizations are not putting enough focus on the leadership required to integrate these capabilities well, and that right there is the real gap. I want to be clear, I'm not talking about it's between the companies that do or do not use AI. That ship has sailed as it should. That's not the differentiator. The gap is in companies deploying it versus those deploying it and actually designing it for what we need to preserve alongside it. The pursuit of output and velocity, we are becoming very good at executing, but we leave so many critical skills on the table. Human skills. So what are we losing in this now very, very binary world? Who remembers your first job? Standing at the copy printer. I stood by the fax machine. That's because I'm 1,000 years old. And I remember that at midnight, working it all, cranking it all out. Who remembers everything you learned from your boss? Not the one that drank too much, but the one you really learned from, shoulder to shoulder. Most often the hard way, long hours, but watching, learning. Mentorship, apprenticeship, those kinds of words, those roles where people learn shoulder to shoulder, they start to disappear. That should concern all of us, because we become less effective at collaborating in environments that don't have that. We become less effective at thinking critically when the path forward isn't pre-prescribed for us. So yes, the output increases, but skills like judgment and critical thinking don't keep pace. So right now, everybody is talking about how AI is impacting jobs, and that's a very important conversation. But what should be of equal concern is how AI is impacting human intelligence, HI, in our business and in our workforce, in the ecosystem in which we work. So what is HI? Judgment, it's intuition, it's the ability to read what the data can't tell you. And it is the thing that makes your best leaders right now irreplaceable, that gut thing. And that's the thing that disappears the fastest. And that loss of human intelligence is what's at stake. The ability to read between the lines, not just see the lines themselves. That's what human can do. So here's what the speed and infrastructure conversation keeps missing over and over again. Humans are actually infrastructure too. Your teams run on judgment, they run on trust, they run on the ability to read a room, they make it the call what no system can make for you. When that erodes quietly, and it will erode quietly, everything built on top of it becomes less stable than it looks. These human capabilities don't just scale automatically. They have to be cultivated, developed, protected. They have to be intentionally designed into the organization's operational schema. This is where leadership actually becomes a differentiator. We've all seen the research. There is data to back this up. Decisions improve and business outcomes improve when speed is paired with both context and judgment. So we know it works. The question is whether we're building for it, which means we need to ask ourselves harder questions. Questions like, what does happen to human judgment when decisions are outsourced to systems? What happens to decision making when speed starts to outpace understanding? What happens and what does it mean for the talent if we automate the work that actually builds judgment for them? And finally, if AI generates the answer, who owns the consequences? Look, these aren't rhetorical questions. Every day at Chief, I have a front row seat to how women leaders are navigating AI in real time. And I can tell you, from talking with them, I see a very clear pattern of interrogation, a bias towards context building, and preserving human curiosity in just the way that they attack the problem. Women leaders aren't just asking for what AI does for us, they are also asking what it does to us. They're not just asking how fast we can move, they're asking what will happen if we move too fast. That is not hesitation. That is not being scared to approach AI. That is not slowing down and just waiting. It's leadership. The research we published today with the Harris poll backs that up. So here's some data that struck me, and I think these should be headlines that we should be reading. Women leaders are seeing what's being lost in the race for efficiency because they have a front row seat. In fact, 87% have witnessed negative outcomes when AI is prioritized without equal investment in people. They are seeing it right now that the teams that can execute well, they are losing the ability to think strategically. 3 in 4 expect the critical thinking gap to get worse over the next 3 years. The consequences are unfolding before us in real time, and women leaders are taking action. They are not only just thinking about it, they're starting to put it through all of their work. They're designing and implementing how humans and AI will work together across the organization, from wherever they sit. They're building solutions. They are focused on governance, ethics, responsible implementation, across all of it. Whether they're in product design, whether they're in human org design, whether they're in strategy, it infuses everything that they are doing. And good news, we saw some research from the Human Machines group that revealed women leaders question the answers from AI 1.3 times more than their male counterparts. I like that one. You know why? This study showed that challenger spirit that I got into tension in 8th grade, we can talk about that later, and the willingness to interrogate the output rather than just default to it is a single strongest predictor of the better outcomes in this study. That spirit, that questioning, that let's just hold our roll for a second to ask a few more questions. This is not women behind in AI. They're building it to last. So let me show you what all of this looks like in practice from the women that we talked to. Women leaders have 3 imperatives running in parallel. 1, they decide what stays human. Very important. They're explicit about where human judgment is non-negotiable. in high-stakes decisions, moments of ambiguity, and in how we lead people. In fact, one chief product officer, told me that her team uses AI to analyze customer feedback and surface patterns, but the decision about which product features to eliminate stays 100% human. Why? Because the stakes are too high and the trade-offs are too nuanced to automate away that kind of accountability. Number 2, they protect where judgment develops. We cannot eliminate these starter roles where people start to learn how to think. That means we need to preserve and redesign entry-level opportunities where judgment is built through experience. Women leaders are seeing this firsthand. Another chief member, a CRO, told me that she restructured her entire sales team so that now AI handles the account research, competitive intelligence, the proposals. That's all the speed part. But you know what stays? Every new sales rep still spends their first 6 months building customer relationships the old-fashioned way. You know, human to human, conversation to conversation, face to face. Because AI can accelerate the transaction, but it can't teach someone how to earn trust. That happens human to human, and it's better for your business. The pipeline for great leadership 10 years from now will be decided in your org chart right now if we build the organizations in a way to include, not exclude. And 3, women leaders are already designing for HI and AI collaboration. It's happening in what the work that they're doing right now. In fact, our chief CMO is always asking the question, and she says it in the right order. What will it look like to be a human in a superhuman organization? Adding AI roles to the org chart is inevitable. We're thinking about this now. She says you have to be intentional in designing how humans and agents work together because you know what sets the standard for what good work looks like? The humans do. Every time. These 3 imperatives operating together show you what is and what will continue to drive the new workplace and how to lead in it. And it's a workplace where AI accelerates the work, sure. But there's also where humans continue to inspire and collaborate and create. And that results in a genuine partnership that's better for business. So we've all been talking about this as the future of work, and it is. All this is. But it's bigger than that. It's the future of the workforce and what we value as leaders, what we choose to prioritize, what we choose to protect, all in the race that we're in now to adopt and scale. How many of you are raising or mentoring the next generation? In your house or in your office? Either one. The young adults who are going to be entering the workforce in the years ahead. I am the mama of a 20-year-old daughter, and I think about this in a very real way. Not just in terms of how and where she will work, but also the kind of world in which she'll be working. Because the decisions that we all make right here today around AI will shape multiple things. How we relate to each other, where we put our trust, and how the next generation thrives. It is a volatile world in which we live, which it makes it even more critical to get this right. And you know what? We've been here before. Any rapid ascent of technology, all of you have been involved with it, the internet, social media, countless innovations in between. We optimize for speed and scale because that's what we do. But it's only after the fact that we ask ourselves, what is this actually doing to us? By then, it's too late. It's part of the culture, part of the business. Can't roll it back now. But today we have a choice. We are building the future of work right now. And the people asking the harder questions, protecting what's matters, keeping 3 imperatives that really matter in the design of how to go forward are senior women leaders. And they're not doing it because of ideology. It's because of capability, because they've spent their entire careers building for it. So this is the defining moment for leadership for all of us in the room, every one of us. Speed, efficiency, and output all matter, but this moment will not be defined by how fast we move. It will be defined by what we choose to protect. And the leaders who have been building those human capabilities across their career, the ones that can relate, build context, question, hold judgment, these aren't hypothetical leaders. They're not future hires. They're already in your organization right now. The question is whether you're putting them in the room, and then whether you're listening when they speak. The decisions we make about leadership will shape not just how AI advances, but what we become because of it for generations to come. Thank you.